thousands of Russian troops have encircled Crimea. Paratroopers have gone in. That is intimidation. That is not the way international law works today.
To be honest, there were no troops on the streets in Crimea. So yesterday I came from Yalta. There were no some soldiers or tanks. The information that people voted or wanted to join Russia under control or under pressure, it's not true. People are really Russians. People have relatives in Russia.
Sorry to interrupt you. We filmed we were told they were local militias that had just sprung up spontaneously. They were people who were in trucks which had Moscow number plates. They all wore identical uniforms with their regiments covered up. We filmed this. That's not coincidence, surely. That's straining credulity to say that these are just, a few people who've borrowed some uniforms. They were official Russian forces.
Yeah, but it's also... Sevastopol is a big Russian military base, and it's crowded and full of Russian military forces. But they also stay sort of legally there. That's kind of, I think it's also sort of mixture here.
I understand that. I understand that.
Do you understand?
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder what your reaction is. Look, here you are, a very international person. You spend a lot of your time in London. I think you've got... I think on your family there's some Ukrainian, your husband on that side. So I just wonder what you think about Russia being isolated. Why do you think the world community is taking such an angry decision? You couldn't even count on the support of China in the United Nations.
That's what's actually so surprising. Because in reality, the whole story did not start with the Crimea, did not start even with Russia. It's not the Russia who suddenly started this crisis. And actually, it's the new government. It's a new government which now sits in Kiev. The first thing which they did, if you remember, last time we met in your studio, I mean, my relatives and nobody in Crimea, they did not want to join to Russia. They did not want to annex. They hoped that they got rid of their corrupted president Yanukovych, and now something new will happen. But what they will see, we saw that the people who were in the power in 2004, who actually created this Orange Revolution, they again came to the power. But in addition, they brought Nazis, neo-fascists, xenophobians. They immediately forbidden Russian language. They started to give threats. That's what actually happened. That's why it became hysteria. And actually, the government itself pushed people to join together to take this decision in Crimea and to ask Russia, president of Russia, government of Russia, to help and to protect. It's not like we are Crimeans, suddenly we decided out of why we would not start now joining the Russia. No, it's not what we wanted.
But I kept on hearing about that the Russia was taking this action to protect its citizens and that from a possible attack. I mean, we've had reporters in Ukraine. We've been trying to cover every aspect of this story. We haven't seen Russian speakers being attacked. We've seen in Crimea the intimidation of people who wanted to stay with Kiev. We've seen them being intimidated. We've seen people being stabbed in Donetsk and the like. But we haven't seen these anti-Russian attacks. I just wonder are they part of the imagination?
No, in Crimea, it's very difficult to see any anti-Russian attacks because actually most population is Russian and some Crimeans, some Greeks. Crimea, the whole Ukraine is kind of country, almost all the people are Russians or mixed people like me, half Ukrainians, half Russians. The very, very western part of Ukraine is still, I mean, the people there, I want to believe that they don't hate Russians, they don't hate us, they don't want to kill us. But the people who came to the government, that's the problem. They created this hysteria, they created this atmosphere, they banned Russian. How they could ban Russian where 20 million people speak Russian?
And what would you feel if Russian forces then tried to take back parts of eastern Ukraine, Donetsk and places like that?
I honestly, I don't believe it would happen, and I don't want it to happen. I and all the people in Crimea and my friends in Kiev, we all wanted only one simple thing. We all wanted legitimate government in Kiev who we could vote for, the government who would represent the opinion, the interest of all people of different nationalities of this country. But now it's a small little group with private weird interests which absolutely don't correspond to the whole Ukraine. And it's, if this government would not stop it, if it would not be substituted, it would be a horrible situation. I mean, Crimea, it's only such a small and first part. And another pieces in big towns, now they will ask for their referendums. They will all run to Russians. To who they would run? Because they're Russians, they're running to Russians.
Right.
If they would be Polish, they would run to Polish. That's what's happening.